Before we start, just a quick reminder to hit that subscribe button. Only 2% are subscribed at 1,000 subscribers. I'll be posting a special video. His fingers closed around my wrist under the table. I jerked so hard the fork scraped my plate loud. Across from me, my sister glanced up and then smiled. She missed the whole thing, his hand, my flinch, everything. He kept holding on like he was just steadying me. I am Lily and I am 29, and that night I finally admitted to myself that he enjoyed this. Not some innocent joke. Not teasing. He watched my face while my pulse kicked against his grip. I watched my sister laugh at some story I did not hear. I pulled my hand free and tucked it into my lap. He leaned back like nothing happened and reached for the bread. His arm brushed my side just a little too slow. Relax, he murmured, just loud enough for me. The words slid under my skin like a dare. My sister spun back to the stove to check the pot. Can you watch that for 1 second? She asked over her shoulder. Her hand rubbed her belly in this absent soft circle. She looked happy and tired and completely unprepared for him. Guilt hit first, then anger because I stayed quiet again. He stood up fast and moved behind my chair. I felt him there before he even spoke. You are jumpy tonight, he breathed near my ear. His breath hit my neck and I had to bite down. I pushed my chair forward so his body lost contact. Stop, I snapped, still low, still careful, still pathetic. He laughed once and padded back to his seat. To anyone else it sounded friendly and normal and harmless. To me it sounded like a reminder that he held cards. I hated that my hands shook around a stupid glass. My sister brought the pot to the table with a grin. The baby is a bottomless pit, she joked while she poured. He laid a hand on her back, eyes locked on mine. Yeah, this kid already takes after me, he said slow. I swallowed hard because the sentence felt aimed at me. Have you ever smiled so wide your face hurt inside? That brittle smile you do when you cannot start a war. I did that right there at that table. My cheeks burned while I complimented the food too fast. He watched every word like he was rating a performance. She started talking about names while we ate. She asked if I liked one choice more than another. I nodded and poked at my plate without tasting anything. He tapped his fingers against the table whenever she looked down. The rhythm stopped every time her eyes came back up. Earth to Lily, my sister laughed, snapping her fingers once. You okay? You seem spaced out tonight. I shoved a mouthful in and nodded hard. I'm good, just tired, I managed around the food. Under the table, his foot pressed against my ankle. That touch jolted me more than the wrist grab. It felt intentional and slow and absolutely not accidental. I yanked my leg back and banged my knee on wood. The table shuddered, water sloshed, cutlery jumped like startled insects. My sister flinched and grabbed her glass before it tipped. Careful, he said, all gentle concern, eyes full of fake worry. His hand hovered near my arm like he might steady me. I scooted my chair out of reach in one sharp scrape. Sorry, I muttered, heat crawling up my neck like fire. He smiled into his plate like he had just scored. Looking back, that was the moment I almost spoke up. Not years earlier, not at the first little weird thing. Right then, with my knee throbbing and his smirk growing. The words reached my tongue and then hit some wall. Fear and loyalty and habit all lined up against them. My sister started clearing plates before I finished eating. I have to sit down soon or my back will snap, she groaned. I jumped up fast and grabbed dishes from her hands. You sit, I will clean, I told her quickly. Anything to move, anything to get away from him. She dropped onto the couch with a relieved grunt. He leaned in and kissed her forehead with practiced sweetness. See why I married her, she called, eyes closed, voice soft. She sounded proud of both of us, like we were a team. I could not look at either of them for a second. In the kitchen, I turned the faucet on too strong. Water roared over the plates like a cover noise. I focused on scraping and rinsing just to stay steady. Behind me, a floorboard creaked and my stomach sank. I knew who it was before he spoke a single word. You are jumpy, I barely walked in here, he said. His reflection hovered in the dark window above the sink. I did not turn, I just stacked bowls and focused. Go sit with your wife, she actually wants you around, I answered. My voice came out flat, which surprised both of us. He moved closer, footsteps slow, chair legs scraping behind me. A cabinet door brushed my shoulder as he boxed me in. "You are in my way," I said, forcing casual into it. He leaned a hip against the counter right next to mine. "We need to talk," he murmured like this was reasonable. Every time he says that, something worse follows. I knew that then, I know it even sharper now. His fingers drummed beside the spung. A steady, quiet beat. "You have been avoiding me," he went on, almost amused. Starting to look rude, especially with family watching everything. "I am not avoiding you, I am avoiding your weird comments," I replied. I finally turned and met his eyes head on. For a second his mask slipped, just a small crack. There was satisfaction there, not hurt, not confusion, just gain. It hit me that he liked this power more than anything. He laughed once and shook his head like I was dramatic. "You read into things too much, you always have," he said. He stepped in again, close enough that my back hit the sink. "Relax, I am just messing around, you know me." He stared at my mouth on that last part. I shoved past him and grabbed the trash bag. The move was sharp enough to knock his elbow away. The bag ripped a little and I almost swore out loud. He caught the edge and steadied it with this patient smile. Like I was a child throwing a tantrum over nothing. "You will make her worry if you keep twitching like that," he warned. His tone dropped low, no more playful covering. "She needs calm right now, not drama from you." That line landed like a hook right in my guilt. He knew exactly where to press and he kept pressing. I hated that he was right about one thing. My sister did not need more stress, not with the baby. So I swallowed everything, anger, disgust, fear, all of it. My hands kept moving, wiping, rinsing, pretending this was normal. He watched like he had just won a quiet argument. "Look at us," he added, voice light again, almost cheerful. "Working together for the family, finally on the same side." He reached out and tucked a loose strand behind my ear. The touch made my whole body lock for one painful second. His thumb lingered far too long near my jaw. I slapped his hand away before I could think. The sound was small, but it felt explosive to me. We both froze, staring like we had shattered something fragile. From the living room, my sister called my name lightly. Her voice dragged me back before I did something bigger. He bent to pick up a spoon from the floor. I realized I had knocked it away with my elbow. When he straightened up, his face was calm again. "Careful, Lily, you are dropping things tonight," he chuckled. Under the joke, his eyes promised I would pay later. I carried the trash out to the hallway just to breathe. The air felt cooler and somehow cleaner out there. I leaned on the wall and counted to 10 slowly. Part of me wanted to walk straight downstairs and leave. Another part pictured my sister alone with him again. Have you ever been so mad you scared yourself? Like if you let one word slip, you might burn everything. I was right there in that narrow hallway. My fingers dug into the plastic of the trash bag. I heard his footsteps coming closer behind the door. The knob turned halfway and then stopped. He knew I was out here, he had to know. Instead of opening it, he called through the wood. "Everything okay out there?" Tone bright, just enough volume. He was performing for her, not for me. "All good, just taking the trash," I answered. My voice sounded almost normal, which disgusted me. I walked back in and forced a smile at my sister. She patted the cushion beside her and shifted over. I sat down because I could not think of another move. The TV played some show none of us watched. She rested her head on my shoulder with a sigh. Her hand guided his palm onto her belly with pride. "She is kicking," my sister whispered, eyes shining at me. He looked at me while he felt his child. That look stayed with me longer than anything else. Not the wrist grab, not the cornering in the kitchen. He stared like this moment was about us, not them. Like putting a baby between us somehow tied me there. I realized he was not going to stop on his own. My phone buzzed on the nightstand before sunrise. I grabbed it fast and saw his name fill the screen. For a second, I almost tossed it across the room. Instead, I opened the message and my chest tightened. "We need to talk, just us today." I stared at those words until the screen dimmed. Another text popped up before I could lock it. "If you ignore me, this gets messy for everyone." My stomach flipped at that last part more than anything. He knew exactly where to press when he wanted leverage. I typed 3 different replies and erased them all. Finally, I wrote, "Public place, 30 minutes, your choice." My thumb shook when I hit send, but I did. I told myself meeting him outside the house meant control. Looking back, that was me lying to stay brave. He answered instantly like he was waiting with the phone. Coffee spot near the freeway, back corner, see you. No question mark, no please, just that little command. I almost bailaid right there, already exhausted by him. Instead, I dragged myself up and started getting dressed. The whole way there, I argued with myself out loud. You know that anxious mutter. "Ing you do at red lights." One voice said I was insane for going along. Another voice said if I refused, he would escalate. Neither voice promised anything that actually felt safe. He arrived after me, of course he made me wait. I watched him walk in and my throat went dry. He spotted me right away and his mouth twitched. Not a smile, not a grimace, just something smug. He slid into the seat across like we were coworkers. "You look rough," he started, eyes moving over my face. I folded my hands so he would not see them tremble. "This has to be quick," I told him, keeping my volume low. He leaned back and pretended to be offended by that. "You never were good with small talk, were you?" I ignored the poke and went straight to the point. "What do you want from me?" My voice came out steadier than I felt inside. He tapped the table once and tilted his head. "To finally clear the air since you keep sulking." That line almost made me laugh in his face. Sulking did not cover anything that had happened lately. "You grabbed me yesterday," I reminded, nails biting my palms. "You hover, you touch, you push, you know that." He smirked like he had heard a compliment, not a complaint. "You used to like when I paid attention," he replied. His fingers traced circles near my knuckles but never touched. The movement still made my skin crawl like contact. "That was before you turned all above it all," he added. The last words came out sharp enough to cut. "Drop the history lesson," I snapped, pulse pounding through my ribs. "You are with my sister now, that should be enough." He laughed once, short and humorless, and looked away. "If it was enough, we would not be here," he muttered. That one sentence hit harder than any direct insult. He leaned forward and dropped his voice so only I heard. "You remember who got rejected first out of this trio?" My chest tightened because there it was finally out loud. Not hinted, not hidden in little digs, just naked. He watched my reaction like it was a show he bought. "What happened before you met her is dead," I answered. "That story is over and it stays buried, understood?" He rolled his eyes and gave this small bitter laugh. "You keep telling yourself that, but look at our reality." His hand flicked toward me like we were sharing something. "You pushed me away," he went on, voice low and controlled. "Then you introduced me to your family like a consolation prize." My stomach twisted at that phrase more than I expected. He shrugged like he had just said weather, nothing huge. "And now you act shocked that crossing paths again feels complicated." Complicated made my jaw clench so hard it ached. "This is not complicated, this is you crossing boundaries." I hated that my voice shook on that word. He noticed, of course, he always picked up on weakness. His gaze softened in this fake, gentle way that enraged me. "Look, I'm not trying to ruin anything for you." He spread his hands like some calm, reasonable negotiator. "You make me out to be a villain in your head." He smiled slightly like we shared some private long joke. "I just want us to stop pretending we are strangers." "We are not strangers," I shot back, leaning in now. "We are family through her, and that is it, full stop." He nodded slowly like he granted me a tiny win. "Exactly, we are stuck with each other for life." He paused just long enough for the next blow. "So why not make it less painful?" he continued smoothly. "You stop acting like I discussed you, I stop pushing." That trade sounded decent written out, but his tone ruined it. It sounded like he wanted me to thank him for mercy. I felt my fingernails cut into my palms again. "You do disgust me when you corner me," I replied. "The way you touch me when she is not looking." My voice rose on that last part and heads turned. He lifted his cup to his lips, completely unbothered, almost amused. "You really want to discuss that word here," he murmured. He leaned in so close I could see his jaw tighten. "If you start throwing that word around, people will ask questions." His eyes flicked toward the door like he already saw consequences. "You think she is ready to hear your version of things?" That jab went straight for the softest part of me. "I have screenshots," I blurted before my brain caught up. He froze for a heartbeat, then that lazy smile returned. Of what exactly, he asked, finally sounding less smug. I watched his fingers tighten around the cup just once. That tiny grip told me I had landed somewhere dangerous. The text you send at night, I clarified, keeping steady. The way you talk when she is asleep next to you. I let that sink in, even though I was bluffing. I had not saved anything, I just remembered every line. Still, his shoulders rose with a slow, careful breath. You would really drag her through all this history, he asked. Over a few clumsy messages that went too far. He shook his head like I was the cruel one here. She is carrying a child, she trusts you completely, remember that. The guilt hit me like a physical shove to the chest. You dragged her into it first, slipped out before I stopped it. His eyes flashed at that, quick and sharp, then calmed. You think she would see it that way if you talk, he asked. Or would she see her sister attacking her husband out of jealousy? That last word sat between us like something toxic. I actually laughed, this short, disbelieving sound I barely recognized. Jealous tasted bitter just saying it, like I swallowed something sour. You really believe your own story in that head of yours? He watched me, quiet now, eyes narrowed in calculation, not hurt. I believe what people will believe when this explodes, he replied. That answer chilled me more than any threat about me. He was not talking about truth, he was talking about narrative. In that moment I realized how far ahead he played. He had built a whole version of me for her already. The ungrateful sister, the sulking outsider, the difficult one. You already told her I was a problem, did you? I asked. He did not answer, but his jaw flexed once, then relaxed. You know how it goes, he murmured, eyes dropping to the table. Little things, small comments, she fills in the blanks herself. That quiet admission made my skin feel too tight. I am warning you now, he continued, voice lower than before. If you push this, it will look like you want what she has. He held my gaze, waiting for me to deny it loudly. I did not take the bait, I just stared back. He took my silence as confirmation of whatever story he preferred. I am not afraid of you, I lied because I was. I am afraid of what you will do to her. He nodded once, like we had reached the real center finally. Then keep your distance from me and keep your mouth shut. He brushed an invisible crumb off the table, like closing a deal. I will not stop visiting her, I pushed back, feeling heat rise. I will not vanish because you are uncomfortable around your past. He smiled without humor and finished his drink in one pull. You will keep coming, he agreed, wiping his lip with his thumb. That is the whole point, you will always be there watching. That last line landed wrong, heavier than the rest of his speech. It sounded less like an accident and more like a plan. I saw something in his eyes that twisted my stomach hard. This was not just about old rejection or wounded pride anymore. He wanted me trapped in this orbit for a long time. He stood up first and slipped his phone into his pocket. Text her that we talked and everything is fine, he instructed. He did not ask, he assigned me the script like homework. If you make her worry today, that is on you. Then he walked toward the door without a backward glance. I sat there longer than I want to admit now. My hands trembled so much I could not pick up my cup. A message came in from my sister before I moved. Hey, he told me you two were grabbing coffee, thank you. I stared at the bubble until my eyes burned. He said you were mad at him for being overprotective. Another text from her, full of hearts and relieved emojis. He really cares about us, even if he is intense sometimes. Reading that, something in me finally cracked in a clean way. He had already turned the meeting into proof of his devotion. I typed, erased, retyped over and over, thumbs slipping. Every version either blew everything up or buried it deeper. In the end, I went with the coward's middle road again. Yeah, we talked, it is okay, how are you feeling today? I hated myself immediately for giving him that cover. She replied with a long, excited update about baby kicks. Her joy bled through every line and pulled at my chest. While I read, a new notification slid down over her words. From him. Smart choice today, this stays between us. My hands went cold while the rest of me overheated. I locked my phone and pressed it flat against the table. Somewhere behind the fear, something uglier started taking shape. It was not courage yet, but it was heading there. Because I finally believed one thing for sure, this was war. Knuckles hit my door hard enough to rattle it. I froze halfway through tying my shoes. A second round came, slower, more deliberate, like a signal. My phone lit up at the same time with his name. Open up, I brought something from her. I should have pretended not to be home. Instead, I cracked the door with the chain still on. He lifted a paper bag and grinned like a delivery guy. She made brownies and refused to rest until I drove them over. His eyes slid past me, checking how far he could push. Leave them there, I will grab them later. I tried to shut the door, chain still hooked. He shifted his arm fast and blocked it with his shoulder. Come on, I am not a stranger, you know me. The pressure against the door crept up my arms like static. Move back or I call the building manager. The threat tumbled out before I polished it. He blinked once, then stepped away with both palms raised. Fine, relax, take the chain off, I will stay here. His tone sounded amused, not apologetic, and that scared me. I unhooked the chain because fear and habit wrestled. He handed me the bag and let his fingers brush mine. The touch was quick but loaded with meaning. See, peaceful visit, nobody died, he joked under his breath. I almost slammed the door right then in his face. I should get back to cleaning, I muttered, clutching the bag. He planted his foot on the threshold before the door moved. 2 minutes, he bargained, eyes bright with something sharp. She thinks you are mad at me still, she worries. That landed exactly where he wanted, right in my guilt. I am upset and she should probably know why. The words slipped out lower than I intended. His jaw flexed, barely there, then eased again. I already told her we worked it out over coffee, he said. So if you tell a different version now, it looks strange. That sentence hit harder than his hand on the door. He had gone home from that cafe and spun a story. My chest felt heavy, like someone sat on it. What did you tell her exactly? I asked, gripping the bag. He leaned on the frame, comfortable, like he owned it. That you were stressed, that we talked, that we are okay. He watched my reaction like a hawk tracking movement. I mentioned you have trouble trusting men in general, he added. That part really clicked for her, she wants you happy. My throat tightened because he was weaponizing concern now. So if I share what you actually do when she sleeps? My voice shook on that last word, I hated that. You think she will choose my version over yours? He shrugged once, casual, like this was a math problem. I think she will crumble, and I think you know that. That was the moment I stepped back and let him in. Not because I wanted him there, because panic won. 2 minutes, I repeated, pointing toward the living room. He walked in slowly, eyes roaming over my things. It felt like he was cataloging weaknesses he could use. He dropped onto the edge of the couch and leaned forward. You look tired, you sleeping at all these days, he asked. I stayed near the doorway like I might sprint. Get to the point, then get out, I answered. He smiled like he enjoyed the fire more than feared it. She misses you, he started, lacing his fingers together. She thinks you pull away because of her pregnancy mood swings. He watched me flinch at that twisted version of reality. If you keep avoiding the house, she blames herself, not me. He let that hang, waiting for it to sink in deep. I hated that he was right about one part. My distance already had her questioning her own behavior. She is my main focus, not you, I reminded him. Then stop acting like I am some monster only you can see. His eyes flashed just for a second, then went calm. Here is what is going to happen, he continued, voice steady. You come over tomorrow for dinner, you act normal, you smile. His gaze locked on mine, unblinking, challenging me to argue. You let her believe everything is fine between us for now. That for now sounded like a rope tightening around my neck. And in return, I asked, because part of me still bargained. He leaned back, crossing one ankle over the other. I keep our coffee chats between us, I keep my mouth shut. He tapped his knee like he was counting points. I stop sending late messages, you stop threatening records. He framed it like a peace treaty, I heard a trap. Stop touching me when she turns her head, I added. His smile thinned, then settled back into place. You read so much into a hand on a wrist, he scoffed. The casual tone made my skin crawl more than any grab. I stepped closer without realizing I moved. If you grab me again, I go to her immediately. My voice came out clearer than before, almost calm. He studied me, running his tongue along his teeth. You would actually do that even if it breaks her, he asked. That question lodged in my chest like a stone. Back then, I honestly did not know the answer. Now writing this, I hate how long I hesitated. I remember staring at him, trapped between two loyalties. He saw that hesitation and relaxed like he had proof. His phone buzzed on the cushion beside him. He glanced at the screen and his expression shifted. She wants to know if I dropped the brownies off yet. He turned the screen toward me briefly, messages stacked. A string of hearts and exclamation marks filled the top. Call her, I said before he could twist it. Right now, put her on speaker, we will both talk. He arched one eyebrow but hit the button. Her voice flooded the room, warm and tired and hopeful. Hey, did you find her? Is everything okay? She asked. We are hanging out right now, just chat. Ting, he answered. He shot me a look that dared me to contradict. Tell her, he mouthed, jaw tight, eyes locked on mine. My palms dampened around the paper bag still in my grip. I swallowed hard and forced sound out. I am here, I cut in, leaning closer to the phone. Brownies look great, thank you, I miss you. That last part came out real, which hurt even more. Oh good, she breathed, relief clear even through the distortion. You two are finally getting along, this makes me so happy. My stomach lurched at that word because she meant it. Yeah, we are working on it, I managed, eyes burning. Rest today, I will come by tomorrow, we can talk. I heard sheets rustle on her end, a tired little sound. Perfect, I love you, both of you, she whispered. He ended the call and set the phone down slowly. The silence after her voice cut off felt heavy and thick. You heard her, he murmured, not looking away from me. She needs this illusion, you smash it, you deal with fallout. He rose from the couch and stepped into my space. He reached up and brushed his knuckles near my cheek. Not a slap, not quite a caress, something in between. Try not to look at me like a villain tomorrow, he added. It makes it harder to act like the caring brother. He grinned, cruel and small, then walked toward the door. My body reacted before my brain caught up. I grabbed his arm and yanked him back a half step. If you touch me like that again, I record it, I warned. He glanced at my phone on the side table and laughed once. Finally fighting back, interesting, he muttered, pulling free. He left without another word, door clicking shut behind him. I locked every bolt and slid down against the wood. My hands shook while I opened my phone with clumsy swipes. His last text from the cafe still sat near the top. Smart choice today, this stays between us. Looking at it now, it read like a confession. At the time, I had scrolled past and tried to forget. This time I pressed and saved a screenshot, then another. My heart raced while I created a hidden album just for him. It felt disgusting and necessary at the same time. Right as I finished, another message popped up from him. Remember the deal, tomorrow you smile, the bubble announced. No emoji, no charm, just that instruction, you smile. I captured that one too, thumb moving faster now. Every line he sent became something I tucked away. While I worked, my sister's name flashed over the top bar. I almost ignored it, then guilt shoved my finger to open. Thank you for giving him another chance, the message read. He told me he pushed you too hard before, he regrets it. I stared until the words blurred into a vague smear. He was already rewriting our history for her in real time. I could either shout the truth right now and wreck her, or I could gather enough proof that she could not ignore. Back then, I convinced myself the second option was kinder. Now I know it was also a way to postpone the explosion. I typed slowly, choosing each word like it might explode. We are trying to be civil, I love you, see you tomorrow. Nothing more, nothing less, just that thin, safe line. She answered with another flood of grateful messages and plans. Reading them, I felt something inside me harden around a decision. I was done hoping he would get bored and back off. Done betting on his conscience or on luck or time. Tomorrow I would walk into their place with a different mindset. Not as the sister avoiding conflict, as the witness taking notes. Because once you call something a war, you either fight or surrender. I almost turned around when the door swung open. I expected her. He filled the frame instead, one hand on the knob. For a split second, we just stared at each other. Then he smiled like we were old friends dropping by. You are early. He stepped back, clearing space for me to enter. That eager to hang out with us again. His gaze flicked to my phone clutched in my fist. I walked past him before my nerves talked me out of it. She called my name from the couch and started waving. Her feet were propped up, belly huge, face flushed. Finally, I have been stuck with this guy all morning. She reached for me and pulled me into an awkward hug. I felt him watching while her hand squeezed my arm. Traffic all right? He dropped the question casually from the doorway. I just nodded and set my bag down by the chair. My eyes scanned the room without meaning to. I was counting exits, not admiring anything, just planning. He hovered near the kitchen, glancing in every few seconds. She grabbed my hand and placed it on her stomach. There, did you feel that? She has been at it non-stop. A tiny kick tapped against my palm like a reminder. I forced a smile because she deserved that, not my fear. We are having lasagna, she announced, voice full of pride. Well, he is handling most of it, I just bossed around. He leaned around the corner and lifted a hand in greeting. Domestic duties, you know how it goes, he joked, eyes on me. I stiffened because only I heard the extra meaning in that. You need anything? I asked her, ignoring him completely. She shrugged and adjusted the pillow behind her back. Honestly, just stay a while, it has been lonely lately. Her smile faltered for half a second before she corrected it. That tiny slip made my jaw tense because he probably saw it too. He announced he had to grab something from the car. Keys jingled as he crossed behind the couch. He brushed his fingers over her shoulder in passing. Watch her for me, he added like she needed guarding. The door clicked shut, leaving just us and my racing pulse. Has he been weird? Almost came out of my mouth. Instead, I asked how she was sleeping. She rolled her eyes and launched into a story about heartburn. I nodded and laughed where it fit, but my mind kept drifting. Every time her voice dropped, I heard his in the silence. While she talked, my gaze drifted to the table by the wall. His laptop sat open, screen still glowing, lid half lowered. No password prompt, just an email inbox pulled up in full. I felt my heartbeat jump into my throat like an alarm. I looked away fast, then back like I was testing myself. Can you grab me some water? She asked, rubbing her forehead. Kitchen's a disaster, I lost the energy to care. I stood up too quickly, almost tripping over the rug. Sure, I gotta just stay put, I answered. My eyes slid past the laptop again like a magnet. In the kitchen, I filled a glass and stared at the sink. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I also knew exactly how awful it would look if I was caught. You know that moment where every option feels wrong anyway. That was me, gripping the counter until my fingers ached. On my way back, she nodded toward the laptop. Do me a favor, check if my mom replied about next weekend. My chest lurched so hard I nearly dropped the glass. He left his email open, she should be near the top. The request landed like permission I had been begging the universe for. I set the water on the table and picked up the laptop. Which folder? I asked, keeping my face as neutral as possible. Just the main inbox, she uses that same subject line always. She settled deeper into the cushions, eyes already drifting shut. She trusted me enough to hand me the key to his secrets. His inbox was exactly what you would expect at first glance. Bills, promotions, random newsletters, family threads with boring subjects. My fingers hovered over the trackpad, fighting the urge to dig. Then I noticed a conversation pinned to the top. Subject line, still worth it. I should have ignored it, I know that. Instead, I tapped once quick like ripping off tape. Messages stretched back months, all to the same contact. The latest one sat half-written, cursor blinking at the end. I scrolled down to see what he already sent. Baby, almost here, the most recent line started. Feels like closing a loop that started years ago. My spine went rigid while my eyes jumped ahead. Her sister will never escape me now, not really. My lungs forgot how to work for a second. I could have stopped reading there and already puked. Instead, I dug deeper, scroll after scroll, hand trembling. He bragged about that first night he met my sister. He described clocking my expression when he flirted with her. Best part was the way she froze, one sentence read. Another message made my stomach twist even tighter. Getting with the sibling stings more than any insult. He wrote about making sure I saw every milestone. Dating update, engagement update, pregnancy announcement. Each one framed as some sick scoreboard in his head. Long game finally paying off, one older email said. She thought I disappeared after she turned me down. He called my sister collateral in another thread. He wrote that knocking her up locked me into his orbit. I actually heard a buzzing in my ears at that line. From the couch, she shifted and let out a soft groan. I snapped the laptop halfway closed on reflex, heart pounding. You find anything? She mumbled, eyes still shut. Just junk, nothing from mom yet, I answered quickly. My tongue felt thick as I forced each word out. She nodded and adjusted the blanket around her legs. Can you put it back? He hates when I misplace it. That sentence almost made me laugh, the bitter kind. Hates when she misplaces the same device he used to trash her. I set it down, then picked it up again, fingers shaking. Actually, I might check my email while I am here. The excuse sounded weak even to me. She just hummed and closed her eyes again. Go for it, I am useless until this child stops kicking. She believed I wanted to browse, not detonate my entire view of him. I shifted the screen so it faced away from her. My thumb slid my phone out of my pocket under the T. Label. This was the part I am least proud of, honestly. I lined up the camera and snapped a photo of the thread. Then another and another until I had the worst lines saved. Every click felt like a tiny grenade going off. Part of me screamed that I was violating her space. Another part kept going because without proof I had nothing. You ever feel filthy and justified at the same time? That was me, crouched behind a laptop, collecting his words. The front door rattled before I could lock my phone. Keys fumbled in the lock, then the handle turned. I shoved the phone into my pocket so fast it hurt. The laptop snapped closed a beat later, almost catching my fingers. He stepped inside carrying a grocery bag and scanned the room. Smells like you two are already causing trouble. His eyes landed on the laptop, then on my face. Just a small flicker, but I caught it and he knew. You look like you saw something wild, he added, watching me. My pulse hammered so loud I wondered if they heard it. She was checking emails for mom, my sister murmured. She stretched, wincing, one hand on her stomach. She is allowed to touch a computer without breaking it. Her tone teased, completely unaware of the storm brewing. He relaxed his shoulders on purpose, like he decided to play along. Good, maybe she can clear my inbox next, he joked. He walked over and dropped the bag on the counter. The laptop sat right beside where he stopped moving. He kept his gaze on me while unpacking and talking. I felt pinned without him lifting a single finger. Can you help set the table? She asked me. I latched onto the chore like a lifeline. Moving around gave my hands something harmless to do. Plates clinked, silverware shifted, tiny sounds covering my breathing. Inside, my thoughts were sprinting in circles, tripping over each other. Every time I glanced up, he was already looking. Not openly hostile, more like he was checking for cracks. He cracked a couple of jokes, hovered near the stove. Anyone else would have said he seemed relaxed, even sweet. I saw the man who wrote collateral like it meant nothing. We sat down to eat, her in the middle, us on sides. She talked about baby classes and weird dreams. He listened, nodding, fingers resting lightly on her arm. Every now and then he flicked a glance toward me. I shoved food around and tried not to choke on rage. Tell her about tomorrow, he prompted, nudging her gently. She brightened and turned to me, eyes hopeful. Doctor appointment, final big checkup, I want you there. The invite knocked the wind out of me for a second. He sat back and watched my reaction like he was betting on it. You already have him, I started, nodding toward her husband. I do not need to intrude on every appointment. She shook her head, stubborn hand wrapping around my wrist. I want my sister there, he will be in the room too. That last part sounded more like a warning to myself than her. Of course, I answered, forcing my throat to work. I will be there, just text me the time. Her face relaxed in this huge, relieved way that hurt. He smiled faintly now that I had committed in front of her. The trap tightened and I walked right into it for her sake. After we finished, she tried to stand and winced. Back is killing me, I am lying down before I snap. He moved to help her up, arm around her shoulders. She paused and looked over at me from the hallway. Stay a while, do not vanish right after dinner, she called. I will clean up, then I will head out, I replied. She nodded and disappeared toward the bedroom. The moment she turned the corner, the air shifted. He stacked dishes, carried them in, set them by the sink. We moved around each other like two people in a crowded ring. You enjoy your little reading session earlier, he asked quietly. My fingers tightened around a plate, knuckles going pale. He turned the faucet on, voice barely above the rush. You are not subtle, you know that, I saw you hovering. My spine braced for whatever came next, every muscle on alert. I opened what she asked me to open, I replied. It was the safest half-truth I could manage. He leaned against the counter, dripping water from his hands. Did you now, and nothing else caught your eye at all? His stare bored into me, hunting for the slightest twitch. I met his gaze and held it, which surprised both of us. You worried about something I might have noticed, I asked. He snorted once, pushing off the counter like this amused him. I am worried you read so much into everything I do. He reached for a towel, shoulders loose, tone deceptively casual. You really think anyone would take emails that seriously, he continued. Guys vent, we say stupid things, it does not mean reality. He did not admit I saw anything, but we both heard it. He tossed the towel down and stepped closer, lowering his head. You blow this up, you blow up her life, remember. That? I am not the one describing her like collateral, I hissed. The word scorched my tongue coming out. For a brief second his expression dropped all pretense. No charm, no injured pride, just pure calculation and annoyance. Then the mask returned, smoother than before, almost bored. You really want to fight with me in the kitchen, he asked. While she lies in there thinking we are finally bonding. His voice stayed soft, which made it worse somehow. You go in that room with wild accusations, you break her. He stepped back, giving me space he knew I would not use. He grabbed the trash bag and knotted it with one tug. I am taking this outside, breathe or whatever you do, he muttered. He glanced over his shoulder once more on the way out. Not afraid, not smug, just sizing me up again. Like he was adjusting strategy mid-game now that I had cards. The door closed and I leaned on the counter hard. My phone felt heavy in my pocket like a loaded object. I pulled it out and opened the hidden album one by one. His words stared back at me, undeniable in his own sentences. I knew then there was no version of this that ended gently. From down the hall my sister called my name, sleepy. You leaving soon or can you sit with me a bit? My fingers hovered over the photos, then locked the screen. I walked toward her room, heart-pounding, mask already forming. Because until I was ready to detonate everything, I had to keep playing along. His palm landed on my knee in the waiting room. I jerked away so hard the chair scraped the floor. My sister glanced up from the clipboard, eyebrows creasing in confusion. He stretched his legs out like nothing happened, gaze fixed on the TV. My heart thudded against my ribs, way louder than the volume. Relax, you are jumpy today, his breath brushed my ear. The words barely carried across the row, the intent did. I shifted to the edge of the seat, knees angled from him. My sister sighed and set the clipboard down between us. You two okay? You are both acting weird. We are fine, just tired, he answered before I could speak. He slung an arm along the back of the chairs behind us. His fingers hovered near my shoulder, not quite touching. I stared at the double doors to the exam area, willing them to open. Waiting gave him room, and room always helped him. A nurse stepped into the doorway and called her name. My sister pushed herself up slowly, one hand on her side. He jumped up to help, hand on her elbow instantly. I followed behind them, fists clenched around my phone. The hallway felt narrow, his shoulders taking up too much space. In the exam room, the nurse pointed me toward a chair. Partner over here, other support person there, she moved quickly. He took the spot nearest the bed, planting himself like furniture. I stayed at the foot, close enough to touch her ankle. Close enough to track every small twitch in his posture. Gel went on her stomach and the Doppler started its search. The monitor beeped softly until the heartbeat roared into the room. My sister laughed, covering her mouth, eyes bright with relief. He stared at the screen, then cut his gaze toward me once. His expression shifted, something pleased sliding in under the awe. She is strong, takes after her parents. His voice sounded light. He squeezed my sister's hand, then looked at me again. For a second I saw the guy from his emails, not the doting man. The one who treated this pregnancy like a scoreboard in his head. I gripped the back of the chair until my fingers hurt. The doctor walked in cheerful, talking through measurements and numbers. He asked if there were any worries, anything new lately. My sister mentioned tightening, his jaw flexed for one beat. He recovered instantly, tossing out a small line about baby flips. I stayed quiet because my fears had nothing to do with cramps. When the doctor stepped out, he brushed hair from her forehead. "You are doing amazing, we are almost there," his voice dropped. She blinked up at him, tired and grateful and completely trusting. Then she reached toward me, fingers searching for my hand. "Thank you for coming, I feel better with you here." Her hand was warm and shaky, mine was ice cold. He watched our joined fingers with a look I recognized too well. "Yeah, real family moment right here," he let out a low laugh. The tone twisted that word into something tight and ugly. I pulled away, pretending I needed to check my phone. While she got dressed, I scrolled without really reading. My thumb hovered over the hidden album, then backed away. I almost walked out and hunted down the doctor. Almost threw those screenshots on his desk, demanded someone believe me. Instead, I shoved the phone into my pocket, stomach rolling hard. Back in the waiting area, she booked the next visit. He leaned against the counter, rolling his shoulders, playing relaxed. The receptionist smiled at their banter, clueless. As about the undercurrent. I stood slightly apart, arms folded, swallowing the urge to yell. Every easy joke from him felt like another smear of gloss. In the parking lot, he unlocked the car and opened the door. "Front seat, or you want to ride in back with royalty?" My sister laughed and aimed for the front, moving carefully. He looked at me over the roof, eyebrows lifting in question. "You coming over after she wants lunch at home?" She twisted in her seat, eyes hopeful, hand on the belt. "Please come, I already planned the whole afternoon around you." I nodded because I fold fast when she asks like that. "Yeah, I will follow you, I just need gas." I hated how smoothly the lie slid out of my mouth. On the drive, my brain replayed the exam room. His sideways glance, the little line about family, the stare at our hands. It would almost be easier if he were loud or crude. Instead, it was all creeping edges and staged tenderness. Hard to prove in one sentence, impossible to ignore in my body. By the time I pulled into their complex, my jaw ached. I had been clenching my teeth the entire way without noticing. He stood near the entrance waiting, keys spinning around his finger. "You took your time, we were about to start without you." The words sounded casual, the curve of his mouth ruined them. Inside, my sister lowered herself onto the couch with a groan. "Back is wrecked, I am not moving for an hour." She looked at us both, then pointed toward the kitchen. "One of you feed me, the other deal with the chaos." She trusted us to divide tasks like some solid team. "I will handle food, she can keep you company." He moved first. He headed toward the kitchen without checking if I agreed. My sister grabbed my wrist and tugged me down beside her. "Tell me every thought from that appointment right now." She searched my face for comfort I did not actually have. I forced my tone even and talked about the rhythm. I repeated the doctor's comments, the safe, boring ones. I watched her shoulders slowly loosen bit by bit. If I mentioned the other threat, that piece would shatter. So I swallowed it again like some broken skipping track. From the kitchen, cupboards opened and closed in a steady pattern. He hummed something out of tune, filling the quiet between us. "You two were quiet in the car," she noted suddenly. "Did you argue again? Am I missing something big?" The question scraped along my nerves and left them raw. "We are just very different people," I shrugged one shoulder hard. "Sometimes I hate how vague I get when I am scared." She frowned, fingertips tracing tiny circles on her knee. "I need you both, I cannot juggle drama right now." Her eyes shone for a second and I backed off. "Then we will figure it out," the words tasted false. She squeezed my hand once more, then reached for the remote. "Go help him before he ruins everything in there." I stood up on autopilot, pulse climbing towards something ugly. Deep down I already knew this was where it would crack. He had his back to me at the counter, knife moving steadily. "Look at us, domestic harmony just like good days," he remarked. I stayed near the threshold, refusing to step closer. "We are nothing like good days, stop pretending we are." He glanced over his shoulder, grin thin, eyes steady. "You almost spilled in there, did you?" His voice dropped lower. I stayed silent, which told him more than any answer. "The doctor, you thought about unloading everything right beside the monitor." He turned slowly, drying his hands on a towel. His stare pinned me in place, testing every twitch. I thought about protecting her, my throat felt tight, words sharper. From the man who treats her life like a reward system. He gave a short laugh like I had delivered a punchline. You really think those screenshots will impress anyone in real time? He stepped closer, shrinking the space I had left. I slid to the side he mirrored, blocking my path. It felt like a choreographed routine only he enjoyed. You keep gathering little trophies, building your big reveal, he murmured. Meanwhile, she sees me stirring sauce and rubbing her feet. He reached past my shoulder for a bold chest brushing mine. I jerked back, shoulder banging into a cabinet, breath catching. Do not touch me, every muscle in my body went wired. He studied my face like I was being dramatic at a party. One bump and you act like I knocked you out. The dismissive tone lit something ugly and electric inside me. You know exactly what you are doing and you like it. My hands shook, but this time I stayed where I was. You enjoy that I cannot warn her without tearing her apart. He tilted his head considering, then gave a tiny nod. Everyone likes leverage, the way he said it made my skin crawl. That line stunned me more than any raised voice ever could. For a heartbeat the room felt tilted, like the floor shifted. I realized he was not Ray. Seek less, he was calculated. Every message, every comment, every gentle act in front of her. None of it was clumsy, it was a structure. He moved in again until the counter dug into my back. If you are going to accuse me, at least go all in. His voice dropped, almost a whisper, inches from my face. Or stop flinching and accept this is your reality now. He lifted a hand, fingers sliding toward my jaw. I reacted before thought, pure instinct, no strategy. My palm met his cheek with a sharp, clean crack. The sound tore through the kitchen, louder than anything else. His head snapped sideways, eyes blown wide with disbelief. For the first time since this started, he looked shaken. My chest heaved, adrenaline roaring, my hand burning like fire. His cheek flushed, his features twisting from surprise toward rage. You just ruined everything, he growled, stepping toward me again. I braced for whatever came next, every nerve screaming. Footsteps shuffled down the hallway, soft and unsteady. What was that? Her voice drifted in from the hall. I watched his jaw tighten, then loosen like he made a choice. He turned away from me, shoulders curling a little, posture drooping. By the time she reached the doorway, his eyes were glossy. I could see the lie gathering on his tongue, ready to turn my slap into his wound. She grabbed the doorway and took in both of us. His palm covered the side of his face where I hit. My hand still hovered halfway between us like leftover evidence. For a second none of us spoke, the kitchen just buzzed. Then he drew a breath like a victim preparing his story. She snapped and hit me, his voice came out thin. He kept his gaze on her, not on the handprint. I saw his mouth tremble on purpose, like he rehearsed that quake. Anger shoved the fear aside for once and actually held. She didn't snap, you pushed and cornered and grabbed again. My voice sounded rough even to me, but it stayed steady. She looked from his cheek to my hand, then back. Her fingers tightened on the doorframe like she needed it to stand. You raised your hand to my face out of nowhere. He touched the reddening skin like it shocked him. I joked about the sauce, she lost it. He made himself small, which made me feel monstrous by comparison. I saw her flinch at the word lost more than anything. Pregnant women get that word thrown at them like a threat. That is not what happened. I pushed forward, closing distance between us. He tried to lock eyes with me over her shoulder and dare me. Tell me, her palm lifted between us, stopping both at once. Her breathing hitched and I could tell pain twinged. She was scared of fighting, but more scared of being lied to. I realized this was the last moment I could duck. He grabbed me again, crowded me against that counter, would not back off. I hit him after he ignored every time I said stop. My hand still stung, his cheek matched it. Maybe that makes me dangerous too, but I am done hiding. He straightened fast, losing the drooping act like it burned. Listen to how she spins it, he gave a short laugh without humor. He focused on my sister again, like we were in court already. You know me, you know I would never hurt her. Her eyes darted between us so fast it almost made me dizzy. You hit him, her finger lifted toward the red shape on his face. Hearing it out loud made my gut roll like I had confessed murder. I could feel myself wanting to backpedal to make it smaller. Instead, I pulled my phone out with both hands so she saw them shake. I slapped him, and I am about to show you why. That sentence scared me because it meant no more dodging. I opened the hidden album and turned the screen toward her slowly. The first image showed one of his late messages, timestamped near midnight. He wrote that I passed on him, now he had a family. She traced each word with her eyes, breath getting rougher. He shifted his weight from foot to foot but stayed silent. I swiped to the messages about meeting her that first night. There he was bragging about using her to keep me near. The line about collateral sat right under her thumb. Her fingers jerked back like the glass had gone scorching hot. He lunged forward and reached for the phone, face tight. I stepped between them, holding it against my chest like armor. They are jokes, his eyes went wide, hands lifting halfway. It was dark humor and venting, guys run their mouths angry. She kept staring at the screen like it was a different language. You wrote that my pregnancy is some loop closing. Her voice broke on the last word, thin and ragged. He opened his mouth once, then shut it with nothing. How long have you had these? Her stare slammed into me, sharp and accusing. That question hit harder than anything he had thrown. My throat closed, I knew this part would cut deep. Because now it was not just about him, it was about me too. Weeks, I forced the word out, crushing the phone. I kept hoping I was paranoid, that he would stop if I played along less. I know how cowardly that sounds now, and I hear it too. But after today, I am done protecting his image with my silence. She sank onto the nearest chair, one hand on her stomach. For a second, I thought she might pass out right there. He moved toward her, arm reaching like he still had that right. I stepped in his path without thinking, and his chest hit my shoulder. Do not touch me, her voice came out sudden, sharp and clear. He froze mid-step, arm hanging in the air. Go to the living room, her breathing hitched again, eyes staying on me. Both of you sit down, I'm not doing this in doorways. We ended up on opposite ends of the couch like opposing teams. She stayed standing, pacing 3 short lines, hand pressed to her back. Silence stretched, broken only by her footsteps and our breathing. It felt like waiting for a verdict without knowing the charges. Did you really go after her first? Her voice cut through the quiet. His jaw worked, eyes locked on the coffee table like it might help. Years ago, his shoulders lifted a little, gaze staying on the table. It was a crush that went nowhere, and I moved on. So when you wrote those emails, you were still angry about that? He hesitated just long enough to answer the question for her. I was venting to a friend. His tone came out drained instead of apologetic. I never meant those words to be literal reality. Is that true? Her voice sounded rough enough to scrape my nerves. She turned toward me with red eyes and a raw expression. She wanted me to say yes and somehow shrink this disaster. Instead, I shook my head once, slow enough to hurt. He meant it. I watched something crack across her features. Get out, her voice went flat, suddenly sharp as broken glass. He stared like he misheard, then laughed once in disbelief. You are kicking me out over screenshots. Over the way you talk about me, her words came fast, shoulders shaking. Over the way you use my sister like a punishment. Over every time you touched her when I was not looking. Each line landed like a swing, and he actually stepped back. For a second, I thought he might rush me instead. His fists clenched, then opened, then dropped to his sides. He grabbed his keys from the table, knuckles nearly white around the ring. You will regret this, he hurled the words over his shoulder while leaving. The door slammed, and the echo hung longer than any of us breathed. My sister sagged toward the couch, hand pressed under her ribs. I rushed to her side, half afraid some contraction had started. Sit down, I hovered close, already counting her breaths in my head. She dropped onto the cushions and buried her face in her palms. For a long stretch she just breathed, sharp in and slower out. I wanted to hug her and confess every doubt and beg forgiveness. Instead, I sat beside her, waiting for whatever came next. I am angry at you too, her words came out muffled through her hands. That sentence sliced through me harder than anything he threw today. You hit him and you waited this long to show me. She was not wrong, and I had nothing that made it acceptable. I stared at the floor and forced myself not to defend. You are absolutely right, my throat burned and my face felt on fire. I was scared and I chose the easier pain, which was mine. That does not make it okay, but it is the truth. She dropped her hands and finally looked right into my face. You stay with me through this, her eyes stayed wet but focused now. If he comes back, you do not leave me alone with him. You already started this explosion, you do not get to disappear. 2 weeks later, I was still sleeping on her couch when labor hit. He was allowed in the hospital, but only after she asked security. I watched her give birth with her fingers crushing mine, not his. He hovered at the edge of the room, suddenly a background character. The next morning, a nurse wheeled the baby in and checked bracelets. My sister signed a stack of forms with trembling hands and no wedding ring. She had taken it off during the night and set it on the tray. I am contacting a lawyer, she addressed the wall over his shoulder, not his eyes. He sputtered about custody and rights and families staying together. She held the baby closer and did not answer him once. I stood near the window, ready to hit the call button if he stepped closer. He saw my stance and cursed under his breath before leaving. Family court came fast, faster than my feelings could catch up. He glared at me across the room like I stole his prize. Our screenshots sat in a folder with labels and case numbers. The judge ordered limited visits and mandatory counseling, which he hated more than anything. Now I write this from the same couch, baby monitor humming nearby. He still appears every other weekend exactly on schedule, never law. He signs forms and hands over diapers, staring like I ruined his script. I stare back steady now because I finally know my role. I am not proud of the delays or the slap or the spying. I am proud I chose her when it mattered, not him, not my comfort. He wanted me stuck, orbiting his little revenge fantasy forever. Now he still circles our lives, but he does it under supervision, and that part is mine.